Hogan in Maryland. Good morning, Governor. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Good to be with you.
Thank you. First question out of the box because it's a headline. Should Governor Cuomo quit?
I think that's really a decision for the people of New York. I mean, there's no question these are serious allegations, and they deserve to be heard. And it looks like there's going to be an investigation, but it's not really up to me to decide that.
If you were the subject of six allegations like that, even if you knew they weren't true, do you think you could govern?
Well, it's certainly going to make it difficult. All the attention is focused on that. If they're not true, then that certainly would be his reason for standing up and not resigning. But I think we're going to get to the bottom of it and find out if they are or if they're not. But no question, it's hard to govern when you're in the middle of a firestorm like that.
All right, now, Governor, I want to turn to the stimulus package. Maryland is set to receive $3.9 billion in direct federal aid. Can you first explain to us how that money gets to you, where does it go, and how does it get divided up?
Well, some of that we're still trying to figure out. So there's, that's an awful lot of money, first of all, but and all of the states are getting this windfall, much more than we probably needed. Some of the stuff in that stimulus bill was helpful, and it really is going to help people in need. Some of it was just simply pork and too much wasteful spending. But we haven't gotten Treasury guidance, and not only on how it's going to come to us and when it's going to come to us, but exactly what we can and can't spend it on. So the money, has yet to be dispersed. There was some talk that the bill allows them to withhold up to 50% of it, up to 12 months. So we don't know the time frames when it's going to come, and our budget department and our legal team and our federal office are all trying, NGA, which I'm involved in, we're all trying to get some more clear definitions and guidelines for how the money's going to be utilized.
Well, if you were king of the forest, not queen, not duke, not earl, and someone gave you $4 billion, what would you do as governor? What would you spend it on? Because that's basically the choice that every governor is going to be looking at now.
Yeah, well, we're going to try to use every penny of it for people that are really in need and to really stimulate our economy. We're not going to put it into wasteful projects. We're not going to use it to offset any problems with a pension or some of these states that did a terrible job of running their state governments. We're going to try to put it in one-time expenditures that can maybe create some jobs. I think. Rather than building up a budget that is unsustainable, because I think it's going to be somewhat of a sugar high. There's going to be all this influx of cash, which may temporarily stimulate the economy or cause a lot of inflation, or both. But then it dries up, and so I think we're going to try to put it into things that we see that can try to help get our economy back on track.
Governor, the only government agency in which I served with a spending authority for 17 years was the Children's Commission, and we actually saved all our money and only spent the interest on the endowment, and therefore we've never started a program that we can't fund 20 years later. Would you consider using this as an endowment for special projects and then just pay the interest off of it like most responsible not-for-profits do?
Well, it's a great idea, but I'm not sure whether the guidelines for this bill are going to allow us to do that. I've also got a 70% majority in both houses of my legislature that are liberal Democrats that probably have other ideas about how to spend it. So I imagine we're going to have some budget discussions, but I don't know that the bill would allow us to do that. But it passed without a whole lot of clear definitions, and we're all trying to figure it out.
There is one provision, Governor Hogan, which says the Congress of the United States says we're giving you this money, but you may not cut taxes.
Yeah.
That is unconstitutional. That's a spending clause restriction that's even greater than the Medicaid expansion restriction. What do you think of it? Will you sue to get that removed?
Well, it's a little bit crazy, and I think it was snuck in there at the last moment. Let me tell you, Hugh, we were really fortunate in that just before this happened, I'm in the bluest state in America with the 70% Democratic legislature, but I think I'm the only governor in America who convinced a body like that to cut taxes. And so we just pushed through a $1 billion tax relief and stimulus plan of our own in a bipartisan way. We only had one vote against it. Nearly every Republican and Democrat voted for it. And I signed it into law on March 3rd, after just a couple of weeks after introducing it. So We got some relief for small businesses and struggling, families in our state, and with tax cuts, put some more money in their pockets, let them keep some of their own money. And that was before this bill came out, so we just got in under the wire on cutting taxes. But yeah, it's I think we're going to have to work our way through this bill. But that was a terrible provision, I think.
Do you think other governors who may not have been as lucky as you in timing will object on it? This is a basic constitutional issue that the federal government is attempting to Shanghai your legislative authority, and the states are sovereign. They run their own fiscal things. Do you object as a constitutionalist?
I think it was a partisan move. The Democrats crammed this bill through without a single Republican vote. It was look. I was pushing for a compromise, Bill. I talked to the president. I talked to leaders of Congress on both sides. I'm the chairman of this group, No Labels, that has the Problem Solvers Caucus. That we reached agreement on the last stimulus bill. That was a middle ground that Republicans and Democrats could support. Instead, they chose to ignore and cram through this bill that's just laden with an extra $1 trillion of goodies. Some of it, the Republicans were saying this shouldn't go to bail out, blue states where they weren't doing a good job of fiscal responsibility, and this was just going to bail them out. And the flip side on the Democrats, where we don't want to, just send this money down to Republican governors or red states and have them, send it back to the taxpayers. So that was the divide, and that's one of the big failures on not reaching any kind of compromise.
But it is an imposition on your inherent sovereignty. Do you find that to be a departure from our constitutional structure?
Yeah, well, I'm not a constitutional scholar or lawyer, but it certainly seems that that's a pretty good argument, and I'm sure that we're going to have some discussions among the governors about that.
Now, I want to turn very quickly, if I can, to the homeless. In Maryland, there are apparently 7,000 homeless in your state, 2,100 of them in Baltimore. Baltimore is getting $600 million. That's in addition to the $3.9 billion Maryland's getting. Is there any excuse for anyone to be homeless in America after that kind of a spray down of money?
Well, it certainly seems to me that with that kind of money, you should be able to, address problems like that. I mean, look, if the purported reason for this stimulus is to help the people that really need help the most, and if we can't take people off the streets with all these trillions of dollars, then it seems like it would be a failure.
Do you trust Baltimore with $600 million, Governor?
Well, they haven't had a long track record of fiscal responsibility. I can tell you that. The state pours a lot of money into the city, but they sometimes are not the best stewards of that money. And I hopefully that we'll be able to work with them and convince them to use it in the right ways and work together in a partnership at the federal, state, and local level. But time will tell.
That doesn't sound like a great big vote of confidence in the city fathers and mothers of Baltimore.
Well, let's say I'm going to remain hopeful and try to work with them the best we can. I guess I'm like Ronald Reagan, trust but verify.
Well, I just good luck on that one. Good luck with $4 billion, Governor. I hope they don't put too many strings on it. Sue them if they did. It's just simply, gosh, it's a constitutional nightmare. I appreciate your taking the time. Good to talk to you, Governor.
Yep. Thank